Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. Hope you guys are getting up and feeling great out there this morning, having a fantastic start to your day and a great week out there so far. Thank y'all for tuning in this morning as we try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for your Wednesday, just like we always do in these morning videos. There's a couple areas of interest we need to speak on, one being interior sections of New England, like the higher elevations, but maybe even some of the lower elevations could get into some winter weather a little bit later into the picture. Today, ice might be the bigger concern over snow, and we'll speak on that in this video. We'll talk about the big time warmth across the country. It's been already a topic over the last several days. It will continue to be a topic over the next several days, and today will be no different. We could have highs well into the 90s in Texas today, 80s as far north as the Ohio Valley. There will be record-breaking warmth today. Some people will break their record highs for that individual date, which is obviously today. So speaking of my neck of the woods too, we're supposed to get into the mid-80s today here in central South Carolina. So certainly a lot of warmth across the country, and we'll speak on that and break it all down for you folks. Stay tuned for this evening. We're going to try to get out a video speaking on, we'll give you an updated information on this rain that's going to move in later tonight into Texas, overspread parts of the southeast, the deep south, mid-south, places like that. We'll give you some updated information on that. So stay tuned for that if you're interested, and we'll kind of talk on briefly what I'm seeing going forward. Also, kind of some updated information from what we spoke on Sunday evening. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like. You ever consider joining the channel now is certainly a great time to do it when things are slow. But just another thank you to the 35, 40 members that I have to the channel that support me unconditionally every single month. Thank you all very much. You ever considered joining? The join tab should be somewhere below the video. Sometimes it's hard to see on the mobile apps, but just let me know if you need some help. But just thank y'all. I know not everybody can do stuff like that. I always try to throw it out there once a week, and I just appreciate the family type atmosphere we have on this channel, and it's always great seeing everybody speaking to one another. It seems like some people have gained friendships throughout the channel. I know I have, and always remember, guys, it doesn't have to be about weather. If you're going through something, need someone to talk to, you're lonely, whatever it may be, reach out to me. I got Facebook linked to the YouTube. I got Twitter or X, whatever it's called these days. And yeah, just reach out to me. Email me. I'm here for you for sure. So with all that being said, if you guys got anything I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's see if this is going to work, and it does. We're good. So still kind of the same pattern, kind of a zonal flow out there. The ridge is really buckling further north now, but you kind of got the flow that's moving like this, and then it kind of goes like that. Still got kind of a trough dig over the northeast, but this is fleeting on out the way, but this is still providing some cold air for the northeast. And as this moves out the way, and the ridge moves in and replaces it, you're going to have a warm nose that really begins to move into the interior sections of the northeast. So at the surface, I think you'll be cold enough for some freezing rain, some winter weather for sure. But warmer air moving in with this storm system that you see in the white right here. But ahead of it, cold air out in front. So this is going to start out as some winter weather. In fact, we'll speak on in a second. You got winter weather advisories for later tonight. For interior sections of the northeast, we'll speak on that, but this system's moving in and moving through areas of the Great Lakes. For even some thunderstorm activity, could get some hail today. Anybody below all these lines I just drew here, we are going to be pretty warm pretty much everywhere in this area. The jets moving through this area. Everybody north of this is, I wouldn't say well below average temperatures, but you're around average to slightly below, maybe even above average. This is just not a pattern that supports big time cold air. A little bit of a trough digging with another ridge building over the Pacific, over areas of the west. So if anybody's going to be cooler than average today, it will be out west, but nothing too crazy or anything like that. So that's in general what's going on. We're going to watch some moisture that's beginning to bubble up. You can see it over Mexico already. You see the white colors. This is going to be what provides some moisture increase. In fact, moisture is already increasing across areas of the south. It's just not falling in the form of rain, but you can see these whiter colors right here. This will be a heavy topic as we get some much needed rain that moves into the deep south, but I don't know if we're going to get a ton of rain. We kind of spoke on that Sunday evening, but I think any rain would help, right? But right now, those areas that I was just talking about, they're quiet. There's not a whole lot going on down here. The jet has not gotten active, the southern jet, but there is a jet streak across the middle of the country, and along it, you got a storm system riding it. A little bit of moisture flying through areas in Nebraska, southeast South Dakota. Probably some very light rain falling across southern areas of Minnesota into Wisconsin, but it is snowing up here right now in areas of the UP and Michigan, especially the eastern UP. We're done with the snow, it looks like. You might have some more moisture swing through, but it won't be anything substantial. But you're pretty much done with the winter weather in northeast Minnesota, where you actually had winter storm warnings issued in certain areas. So let me know how much snow you got in northern areas of Minnesota. But all this moisture is going to move into the northeast, and with some cold air still entrenched into the region, like I said, you're probably going to start out at some winter weather. But this is the system. If you're waking up to winter weather advisories and you're tuning in from interior New England, this is the system that's really drawing those winter weather advisories, as some cold air will still be locked in. Speaking of storms, you do have a general risk of thunderstorms today across the lower Great Lakes region into sections of Ohio, western New York, and northwest PA. Some of these storms could produce some small hail. Nothing super severe, but we saw what happened in, I believe, southern Ontario a couple of days ago, where we had a storm to produce some pretty substantial hail. I don't know if we're going to see that again today, but you can never say never, right? But I'd watch out for some small hail. Do not be surprised one bit, especially later on this afternoon in Michigan surrounding regions. We get a little bit of hail in some of these heavier showers and thunderstorms today. So I don't think it'll be anything like you're going to bust your windshields out or anything like that, but it might catch some people off guard for sure. Risk of flash flooding is below 5%, so there's no marginal risk at all. So all quiet here. Watches and warnings, we do have wind advisories. It's definitely windy here in the Dakotas and the Southwest. The other areas of California and Nevada might be kind of a breezy day today, in areas of kind of around the LA, San Diego region. Might be breezy. No, it doesn't look like y'all have any wind advisories in San Diego, but certainly in Southwest areas of California, windy conditions, a lot of fog right now. There's some wildfires ongoing, and then you have fog ongoing. So this is, I think I saw somebody talk about it last night. They call it a super fog. So, I mean, you're probably dealing with a lot of fog this morning in all these areas, and gray. Dense fog advisories up. And let me know what kind of fog you're seeing down here. And then you got some, it's just fall, guys. We typically see a lot of fog and fall, tongue twister. But lingering winter weather advisories in the western UP and several counties in northern Wisconsin. And we still have a winter storm warnings up in the extreme northeast areas of Minnesota. But this will expire here in about an hour or so. Winter weather advisories, though, up for what's to come in all of Vermont and all of northern New York, even down into southern sections of New York State, which reminds me, I was supposed to already have this pulled up, guys, so I'm going to do it on the fly. I meant to have the great state of New York pulled up on Google Maps so I could mention some of these tongue-twisting towns' names. So we do have some wind advisories up for western Maine, so it could be windy throughout the day, getting into later tonight. And my phone has been blowing up this morning, so if you hear any vibration in the video, I'm just getting, I don't know, tons of notifications for whatever this morning. But the southeast today is going to be pretty quiet. There's not a whole lot to speak on. Some showers. It just seems like we keep repeating the same thing in the southeast. It really does. Really is. Some showers are possible deep down the southern tip of Florida. But guys, outside of that, it's quiet this evening, quiet overnight. Then we're getting into tomorrow morning, and then this is when we start to get some increase in moisture. Could wake up tomorrow morning with some light showers in southern Arkansas, maybe areas of Mississippi, northern Louisiana. It's very possible. We'll watch, but I think moisture begins to increase more so throughout the day tomorrow rather than tomorrow morning. So moving into the northeast, this will be a different story up here. It'll be a lot more active up here in the northeast today. But I would really say it's for tonight, honestly, as today won't be super active. It's really as we're getting into later this evening, into the overnight hours. But of course, we'll give you a more broad look at what's going to happen before we kind of zoom into some of these states. But, as we're getting into about midday today, Michigan, you guys could potentially see a wintry mix in northern Michigan. But are starting to move into later this afternoon, really this evening, and we could have a heavier round of winter weather that moves through areas of Ontario, kind of gets on the east side of Lake Huron. And yeah, this could, pump out a wintry mix, but it's really going to be the front end of the storm as some cold air is still lingering around for you folks in the Northeast and areas of Canada. But it's fleeting. The cold air mass is kind of heading out. It's not really kind of entrenched into the area and really anchored in. It's a fleeting cold air mass. So this is moving in with a bulging ridge moving in. That means we have some warm air aloft. I know some people are like, dude, what are you talking about? But anyways, just take my word for it. But getting into this evening, this is around 9 p.m. This is when we start to get some precipitation that begins to move in. And we'll talk more about Michigan here in a second, here when we get into the north central time frame. But as we're getting into this evening, this is when our folks, like in New York State, could begin to see some winter weather. And let's just go on and zoom in to New York. And here we go. This is probably going to start off as just some rain in Buffalo. Could get some thunderstorm action this afternoon in Buffalo. Starts to move through areas like Rochester, Syracuse. Syracuse will be interesting later this evening. 8, 9 p.m. You could start off as a wintry mix, maybe some sleet, maybe a burst of snow. Very possible. And then this continues to move. It kind of straddles very briefly. What is that? Interstate 90. And then most of the winter weather is north of Interstate 90. But even areas like in the Albany region, you guys could start out as a brief wintry mix, maybe some icing. But I think, as we move, and this is around midnight, 1 a.m., as we're moving into this time frame, this is, in a way, this reminds me kind of what we call a frontogenesis kind of situation. You got a saturated column, and you basically get a front-end thumping of something. And in this case, if you live up in like Burlington, the Adirondacks, I could see you guys getting a good front-end thumping of snow sometime after midnight tonight. Now, everybody south of this, like you see in this orange color here, that is sleet. And then you have purple, which is freezing rain. So, I think that these areas in blue, this is around 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning tonight into tomorrow morning, could get a good front-end thumping of snow. So if you live in northern New York, central and northern Vermont, and then New Hampshire, you guys could get a quick inch and a half of snow. I could see this happening. Burlington, what is that? Malone. Man, there's so many tricky towns that I'm scared to pronounce. Potsdam, Canton, you guys way up here, Plattsburgh, and then there just isn't Old Forge. You guys, basically the entire Adirondacks, could get a quick thumping of snow that could put 1 to 2 inches of snow on the ground. And then warm air begins to mix in. You switch to sleet, and then you switch to a period of freezing rain tomorrow. And this is when the freezing rain becomes a concern. So you could get a dusting of snow up here, pretty much in northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and then it switches to sleet, and then it switches to some icing. And this is getting well into tomorrow morning. And then by the time that we are getting into tomorrow afternoon, there will be a clearing, but then we'll watch for another round of something that can move in. But, speaking for my folks in Maine, and let's see, let's back this up here. My folks in Maine will have to back this all the way up. And here it is, guys. I mean, this is moving into tomorrow morning. At this point, we have, and this isn't a huge storm, guys. I mean, this is a pretty narrow band. But, if you live in, I would say even as far south as Concord or Concord, however way y'all say it. I'm gonna try to say it the way you guys do. But Manchester, you guys could even get, a quick round of winter weather sometime in the wee hours of the morning tomorrow morning, 4, 5, 3 a.m. You guys could see it. Certainly could see it in Rutland, Vermont, and then I say this begins to move into the southern sections of Maine, probably around 6 a.m., right around when the sun's coming up. You got to wonder about Boston. Could you guys start out as a wintry mix? It's very possible. I think it is, but this begins to move into Portsmouth or Portsmouth, Portland. you guys begin to maybe see a brief period of snow tomorrow morning. And then this begins to take over most of Maine. And I mean, even the down east areas of Maine, around 1 to 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, could see a burst of snow from this. It's very possible. And definitely will stay snow the entire duration of the event, most likely in northern Maine. But speaking of accumulations from this, between now and we're going to take it all the way out to, let's take it all the way to Friday morning, a dusting of snow is possible. I mean, in this kind of darker shade of gray, this is a ½ inch or higher. So it could get a ½ inch. But guys, I'm telling you, I would bet that you could get an inch of snow up here in northern New York. These kind of front end thumpings of precipitation can be very, very interesting. So we'll see what happens. Northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire could get a ½ inch to an inch, maybe 2 inches of snow. Freezing rain though, guys, this is a concern. You know, if you live in kind of the southern Adirondacks region, and there isn't a lot of towns I can mention here, Wells, Old Forge, I mean, even down to, Dolgeville, Little Falls. Yeah, there's a lot of little small mountain towns right here in this region. But if you live right into here, I mean, you could get over 1/10 of an inch of ice. In fact, the National Weather Service is saying for some of these areas, maybe a 1/10 to a 1/4 inch of ice. And, you know I'm leaving kind of Western Mass out, but if you live in these higher hills of Western Mass, you guys could stay freezing rain for a longer period of time. So, you know, if you live in Pittsfield, you're definitely going to get a little ice. North Adams, Manchester, Bennington, some ice, certainly likely. Now, are we going to get like damaging ice? Probably not, but you're certainly going to see some ice. Some snow up here for Maine, 1 to 2 inches of snow is possible for central and northern Maine. Okay, I'm not sure how much snow you guys still have on the ground from the last system, but you're definitely going to add a little bit more snow. And then freezing rain up here, not really a big deal for Maine. A glaze is possible kind of in the southwest sections of Maine, and then we could get a few 1/100ths of an inch of ice, maybe even 1/10 of an inch of ice in areas of Vermont. So this one's kind of tricky, guys. It really is with this warm nose, but definitely be aware of some winter weather in those areas I just mentioned later tonight, not so much today. But the south central U.S., it is very quiet. Not a whole lot going on until you get into tonight. So this is getting into about midnight, 1, 2 a.m. This is when precipitation begins to take over southwest and even central areas of Texas. So we're waking up to kind of the beginning period of what could be kind of a wet period for Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, all the way up into the Mississippi Valley. And this is kind of the first round, okay? And we keep this going all the way through tomorrow morning and early afternoon. And by the time we're getting into tomorrow afternoon, we have rain overspreading a good chunk of Texas, the southern half of Arkansas, even some heavier rains falling. So we'll probably speak more on this tonight. But today, it's quiet. It's just the moisture begins to move in tonight. Up here in the north central U.S., the moisture will begin to clear out. Some more moisture will develop in Michigan today. If you live in northern Michigan right in here, a wintry mix is possible. It certainly is. You could turn into a brief period of sleet, maybe a little freezing rain, but most likely sleet, maybe a burst of heavy snow is possible, but warm air really begins to take over. And, we could get some thunderstorms like in and around the Detroit and north area. It's very possible. And then as we're moving, as the low pressure moves overhead into kind of the Aldi Midwest into the southern Michigan area, we got to watch these storms right here in central and southern areas of Michigan, maybe even northern Indiana. If you live in southern Michigan, you guys could see some storms later tonight after the sun's done went down, and they could produce some hail. Maybe kind of like a lot of small hail is possible with this. Big hail, no, but you could certainly see some hail. And guys, you guys could really deal with some snow pretty much throughout most of the day in kind of eastern sections of the UP of Michigan. I don't know if it's going to switch back from rain to snow. It's not going to be a blockbuster event or anything like that. But you guys could deal with snow throughout the day, and then it could become enhanced a little bit later this evening. And maybe another round moves in, and we might wake up tomorrow morning again with some snow flying around the eastern UP, of Michigan, and then we have some snow with some backside cold air beginning to enter northern areas of Minnesota tomorrow morning, even the northeast corner of North Dakota. So, this makes me want to go on and pull this up on the fly. I'm going to do this on the fly, guys, here. Let's see what they're calling for in Michigan as far as snow. I should have had this pulled up. Guys, I like to pull up things on the fly sometimes, but not calling for much additional snow, maybe another inch or so in the eastern UP. We'll see what happens. And then we'll watch another system that might swing through, might dump a little bit more snow here in a couple days. But the western U.S. is much quieter today. There's really nothing to speak on. Maybe some Rocky Mountain snow in Colorado. You guys could see that. Front Range could see some snow. We're getting into this evening into overnight, tomorrow morning. It's quiet today, but as you can tell, what's entering the corner of your screen, another storm is going to enter the Pacific Northwest. We'll see how far north it is. But another topic coming up is going to be a fire hose of moisture that could really take over like California. And we could get a lot of moisture into California in a pattern that might set up next week. And the Sierra Nevada could get a ton of snow and a lot of rain in these lower elevations. That's something we need to watch for sure. Temperatures today, man, weird day in Illinois. If you live in the northern counties of Illinois, only 50s for highs, but you head on down to Chicago, point south, 70s, getting down to the 80s. Peoria might hit 80 today. Springfield, Missouri, St. Louis, 80s. All right, and everybody points south, 70s and 80s. Okay, even these areas like this 80 you see here in South Carolina, it's probably going to be a little warmer. But man, you can tell where the ridge is, right? Just like this right here, right? But you see the Northeast hanging on to those colder temperatures for dear life. And this will set the stage from that ice that I talked about for tonight. And chilly day in all of Michigan. But you don't have to drive far into Indiana and Ohio to get into much warmer temperatures today. Temperatures out west, you're below average temperature-wise. But nothing, I wouldn't say everybody's below average, but there is certain areas that is still cooler than average. In fact, you go on and let's just do this on the fly here. Doing a lot of things on the fly this morning. And in Montana, for example, you're not below average temperature-wise. You're actually slightly above average, but Utah, Nevada, below average temperature-wise. Most of California, but man, Texas. Some areas will get into the mid-90s today. So, but there it is. There's a good graphic of that ridge based off heights and anomalies. The ridging in the orange, troughing in the blue, and that's exactly what's going on right now. And this builds over this region, and then this goes like this. And this right here is that little bit of cold air that's allowing this kind of stick around the Northeast. But you see that big blob of blue in the Northeast. Watch how it heads out. So, but anyways, guys, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Have a great Wednesday, and I should be with you folks this evening.